You've got courage to lead. Courage to lead. Be brave and be bold. Whoa. Let it roar.
Welcome to the Courage to Leap and Lead podcast, where each of our guests share the stories of courage that helped them become powerful leaders. Before we start today's show, please remember to visit courage-consulting.com, where you can find all the episodes and other excellent resources, all at courage-consulting.com. Now here's your host, Leadership Courage Coach, C.B. Bowman.
Wow. But
here's the question though. Does being a visionary give you a pass for being decent to people?
Well, that's a bigger question, and I don't know, because you look at a lot of great people, and maybe they weren't all nice people, if they're visionary or if they had power, and I mean, the quote is, power corrupts, absolute power absolutely corrupts. That's not mine. That goes back. Can't remember who said that, but there's a lot of truth to that. So having someone that's kind and powerful and successful is rarer than it should be, but that happens to be the reality.
Why do you think that is, though?
They got sloppy. They got away with it. No one held them to account. They had no one in their life that they became. You look at any famous person, they all of a sudden people are idolizing them, and after a while they believe it. So I don't know. I don't know why people are. I mean, I have my moods, and but in general, I'm good-natured and try to treat people in a likewise fashion, which my father was that way as well. So maybe it's inherited.
Yeah,
But,
no, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I think that's true. It's just that and of course this is media. It seems that the people that are the most honorary get the most press, and they get a pass, for saying or doing whatever, because they have this vision, or they can press a button and the world jumps. And I've always wondered what keeps them at that level. That line from Annie, be careful of when you're going up, because you pass the same people going down, right? But it's like nobody believes that. Everybody believes they're going to stay at the top, and you have the right to treat people in XYZ.
We just saw the movie about Michael Jordan, Air Jordan, that's out, and there's a in the heart of the movie when Nike got in front of Michael Jordan, and he didn't want them to be his sponsor, and he wanted Adidas first or Converse second, and didn't even want to talk to Nike, but they got him in the room, and the guy gave him an impassioned 3-minute speech, and he touched on some of the things you just said. He goes, everyone, this is what your life's going to be, and you are going to be great. You are going to set records. You are going to win championships, but you're not going to do that forever. And when you're done with that, as you're come off that high, are you going to be the same person as when you went up? And that's going to make the difference between you being the person that you want to be versus a complete jerk. And it's an impassioned plea that was right on the stuff you just said. So there's something to that.
So as we close out, show us your last book. And
the last book, there you go. The last book was Work Made Fun Gets Done. Has 400 real life examples of how to make any task, any group activity, any organization more fun. 100% completely true ideas people personally sent to me. So that's kind of, again, the cut of the cloth out of this whole, with the younger generation, 65 percent say they want to have fun at work. You know, they don't want to go do something dreary or rote or, you know, for 8 hours that drive them nuts. They want to have fun. And so we talk about what that looks like, and here's what people do. And it's just like, and just,
Pulse.
well, like one, I was a woman in Los Angeles that she said, you know, when I have important work to do, I always put on Yo-Yo Ma. In 2015, he did a concert. It's on the internet for free. He did a concert for 8,000 people, 3-hour conference. He played 3 hours from memory, and she said, when you hear the music, it feels like God is talking to you. If I put that on and I work on something, I have the same feeling that I'm doing important work, and it makes it goes faster, and I'm in the flow. And I got off the phone, I turned it on. She was right. It actually works. No matter what you're doing, you have more purpose, you have more meaning by the music.
Which piece is this? Which piece is this of his?
It was 2015. It was Bach concertios. He did, like, I think there were 5 of them. He played. Took a 3-minute break and a 3-hour concert from memory. It's on the internet.
I'm looking it up. I'm going to look it up.
and listen to it. It's wonderful. It's beyond delightful. It's moving, and so, you know, that gives her context. Or another one, for example, on a task, you're doing a task that you don't want to do. You know, your taxes or something. And
that's a good one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is actually a technique, the Pomodoro technique or something, where you get a timer, a kitchen timer, you set it for 20 minutes, and you put it on, and you see how much you can get done in 20 minutes. You know, and all of a sudden you're not fretting, you're digging in and you're doing it, and then wow, it got pretty far, maybe you finished, you know. And so that's a accepted technique. If you've never done that, that works, you know. Someone told me that whenever I do something, I'm big on I like crumpling up. I have a piece of paper I wrote the task, I crumple it up, it's done, and throw it away, you know. And that you know, that physical makes me feel good. I'm getting stuff done today, that type of thing. So
I love this. That's like when I get overwhelmed, I go, okay, sit down, write yourself a list. Because I'm an introvert and I'm an INTJ, and I write myself this whole long list, and then I start crossing it off as I do it. I'm yes, keep going.
There you go. It's the exact same thing. Or like
the other day I was writing over the weekend. I was just really doing some deep concentration work, and I said, I need some music. And I usually don't listen to music. And so I said to Alexa, play Beethoven. And started playing. I thought, this is so soothing. I got so much done.
There you go. Yeah.
My husband comes up and he goes, this music is making me fall asleep. He said, really? I'm finding it very soothing to writing and getting stuff done.
Yeah. So well, we should have a different drummer, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Maybe he gets charged up by watching sports, you know. So
whatever. He does.
There you go. So whatever it takes.
Sports and certain jazz players. He's Italian, and he loves this guy. Oh, I can't even remember his name. He's a jazz player. No, that's a comedian. I can't remember his name, but he just, oh my God. Now, when I hear the music, I like it, but it's not relaxing to me.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's, but then the question.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
That's what makes the world interesting.
Exactly. When you're
we're all exactly the same in boring place.
Yeah. You're writing the book on Make Work Fun. It's going to be different activities for different people, right? It's not one activity that the entire.
Yeah. Well, that's really all my books are like that. So basically, I'm doing a research-based research foundation for that book. The 100 best places to work in America. The variable with the largest differential between companies on that list and those that applied that didn't get accepted was on fun. 81% of companies that are on that list said that they have a fun work environment. The people said it's fun to work here. out of the companies that applied that weren't accepted, it was only 60%. So a 21-point differential between places that are fun versus places that aren't fun and their chances of getting on that list. So we could take solace from that. Say if the best companies in America are all mainly places to have fun, then if you're not doing it, you gotta make it happen. I remember like the president of Belmont, the college in Nashville, he did a sabbatical and he just visited companies that were high performance companies to see, what made them tick. And at the end of the day, he said the big thing that struck him, one of the big things was the people at the highest performing companies were all really enjoying their work, and they had fun with it, and they enjoyed the people they interacted with and who they did it for, and the whole bit. He came back to Belmont College and said, we got to have more fun here, and he created a fun committee, and he volunteers, and you guys set up things that are fun. That's the total instructions. Let me know if you need some budget. And they would be creative, and they'd do an open house or a potluck or celebration on the roof, whatever it might be. And it made it got more fun in that college. So anyway,
it would be fun to teach a class on having fun in your company. So these children that are coming out and starting their own companies get it, right?
They do. They tend to be better at it. And often I tend to think that they tend to be better managers. Millennials are getting to management now, and they often are better because they know what they know what a bad manager looks like, and they're not going to do that. And they know what they wanted when they were coming up, and how they got that or didn't get that. And so they have the idealism that they want to do the right thing, be the right manager, be the manager that they wish they had, or maybe they did have, and they learned from it. But you can learn from the bad example as well, just as he is a good example. And
so your last book on fun, and then you're moving to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your book going to be called? Do you know yet?
Already Naked. Lessons from Steve Jobs, the first person to create a $1 trillion enterprise, and a $2 trillion enterprise, and a $3 trillion enterprise.
But you're starting with Already Naked? Is the
Already Naked, from his commencement speech. You're already naked. That's gonna be the title.
That's the one. Okay, it ties.
You're already naked. Lessons from Steve Jobs.
Go for it. I love it. Oh, listen, before we close out, by the way, when is your book coming out?
Well, that I usually don't talk about books this early because it's still being written. So I haven't even looked at publishers yet, but I've been working on it for several years I'm doing it with the former executive vice president from Apple, Jay Elliott, who was Steve's mentor for 8 years. He was there and kept in touch with him the rest of his life. He met him, by the way, waiting for a seat in a restaurant.
Wow!
I started talking to this young kid. He was 28, and he's starting a company. And Jay had worked at IBM and at Intel, and he was much further along the way. And they talked, and he goes, "Well, I want to show you something tomorrow. You have something." He drove him to Xerox PARC and showed him the mouse, and and then yeah, I want you to come on board. And Jay was like, I'm pretty. I don't need to work for a 28-year-old. I got a career. He goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, what convinced you that I'm serious about hiring you? He goes, I don't know. He's some XJS, Roadster would probably do it red. And next day he had that car in his driveway. His wife goes, "You bought a Porsche?" He goes, "What?" And Steve Jobs bought him a Porsche. "I'm serious about hiring you," and he did.
Nice to be able to afford to do that.
Yeah, isn't it? Everybody gets a car. I want to do the Oprah moment.
Before we go again, I keep saying that because I don't want to go. You became famous at your own hands. Nobody did it for you. You went around to bookstores You tow taxi drivers to take you from here to there. You talked to the heads of the stores and you said, what could I do for you? We're now in a digital age. How does somebody like me who's coming out with a book get my book in front of people?
Well, every best-selling book, I think, has a different story as to how it got there. So you got to find your story. It would be starting with who is it for, and then where do you find those people? And usually you can find people by either what they subscribe to or associations they belong to, and you can buy those contacts, and that would be a good starting point. But we are in a digital age now, and some of the success I had was in a non-digital age. But I give you a couple of quick stories, like Costco Connections. The Costco does a magazine every month, Costco Connections.
Yes.
Yeah. And they
Who
called.
doesn't know that?
Yeah. Well, they called me one month and said, Dr. Bob, we're doing a story about you. We'd like to put you on a cover, and we're sending a photographer from LA to take some photos. I go, great. How'd this come about? I said, well, you've been sending us stuff every month for years now. We have a whole file cabinet just from stuff you've sent us, and we're constantly using it.
What do you mean, like stories that you sent them?
Yeah, stories. I did a column, so things I see. I did a newsletter on rewarding employees did 150 issues of that, and just sort of different focuses, ideas, questions on the road I'm getting, case studies, a quick no cost recognition, stuff like that. And we love your stuff, and we use it all the time for our members, and we decided that we need to pay you back, and we're going to do that by putting you on our cover. And so they did, and that went to that magazine at that point was mailed to 14.5 million business owners. So that kind of helps give you some exposure.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about how I was on 60 Minutes on my book, and how they get in 60 Minutes. Well, I got in 60 Minutes because I got on I did an article, or I helped with an article in the Wall Street Journal. This writer was doing this article on the motivating the younger generation, and he interviewed me, and it was good. And then he called back like 3 or 4 weeks later. He goes, they bumped the article to the front page of Marketplace, and so now he's kind of in a panic. I got to talk to some more people here. Do you have any people I can talk to? So I took an hour and a half, and I found 7 people that he could talk to that relate to the story, and each one of them, I had their cell phone, and I said, this guy will call you. You've got to be available, and all pre-approved. And I go, well, here's some people who can help you with your article. He called all of them. He used all those examples, and it made the article basically. And then at the last paragraph, he kind of gave me a credit and mentioned my book, And so the Wall Street Journal has 1.3 million subscribers, so that was good coverage. But then, a lot of media get their ideas from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. So this producer for 60 Minutes called him up and said, I saw this article you did, and he goes, and he, in his way of paying me back, said, you got to talk to this guy. This is the guy. And so they invited me. They flew me to New York, and went into a studio, and there's 100 people and lights, and sit down, and Maurice Safer sits across from me, and we start talking. and that ran on 60 Minutes. They repeated it multiple times. So that's I'm not sure what that hit was, but that probably 10 million people saw that.
At least.
Yeah, at least, yeah. And so I on both all those examples, those 3 examples I just gave you, Peter Workman at Workman Publishing said, Bob, we couldn't have done that. You did that. Well, I'm glad I was able to help. So they do a lot too, but they saw me pulling with them, and that's what you got to have a partnership with your publisher as an author, and so try to make that happen, which is, you got to maybe put up before you get, like I led with, here's what I'm going to do, whether you do nothing at all, I'm doing these things. I'm going to be hitting it hard here, and kind of shamed them into keeping up with me. And I remember, like, those 27 cities that I initially went to. I remember Chicago was one of them, and the book escort I had, he'd say, okay, we're done with that interview. Before, next thing you have is you're doing this over other side of town, and so we got some time for lunch. You want to get some lunch? I go, no, I could eat anytime. Let's go to the bookstore. So he goes, okay, well, you want me to call him first? No, I want to see what the customer sees. And so we go to the bookstore. Now we get some lunch. No, let's go to another bookstore. I could eat tomorrow. And at the end of the day, this guy goes, I have never ever seen someone pound the pavement like you do, and I've been doing this 28 years. And I said, really? What do other authors do? Well, they'll say, yeah, take me back to the hotel, I'm gonna take a nap. Or so I had one author say, take me to the airport, I'm done with this bullshit. He did one interview, and he thought it was beneath him to have to actually talk about his book. And I can't imagine. You work so hard on something that's important to you, and then you turn up your nose at opportunity to share that with others. I can't imagine, but apparently that's what a lot of authors do. I don't quite get it. So I like to think I'm not one of those. I
Definitely not. You
appreciate the ride, appreciate the people that are helping you along the way. Be quick to want to help them, because karma is real.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and it comes back, and boy, I can give you 100 stories on karma, where just taking the time to talk to somebody in a bookstore, at National Sherm or something, and the guy turned out to be, head of a corporation that, and brought me in for, three bookings, and bought $10,000 worth of books, and on and on. So you got to, I'm a big believer in being a giver, not a taker. I heard the chairman of GE after Jack Welch speak once, and he said, at GE, when we hire someone, one of our 4 criteria is we always hire, everyone's a giver or a taker, and we make it a point to hire givers, people that want to help and want to add and want to support others, versus, do this for me, and it's all about me, and my work's important, yours isn't, and and just as a general rule, we want people here that will be a team player, not just all about themselves and getting ahead and playing politics, and they can go do it somewhere else. So
you're the third person in a week who has said that to me, ironically. Sally Henderson, who I just interviewed, yourself, and I'm reading Becky Robinson's book called Reach. And that's her. In fact, I'm talking to her in 4 minutes.
All right.
It's a powerful message from some powerful people.
To lead with help.
To lead with help.
And the flip side of that is to ask for help.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not very good at I never asked people for help, but when Steve Jobs, another lesson from Steve Jobs, asked for help. He was 12, and he was in a computer, a club type of thing. It was sponsored by Hewlett Packard, and one time Bill Hewitt came to the meeting, and he caught him on the break and said, Mr. Hewitt, I'm building an analog machine. I want to see if you had some parts you can donate to me. And Bill Hewitt, sure, we do. Bill Hewitt gave him some parts for his computer project, but here's a kid, took the initiative here. He hired him for a summer job, and Steve Jobs said, I spent the summer soldering circuit boards on an assembly line. He said, I felt I was in heaven. Because he asked for something, and people met him with that. And I think that happens more often than not. And so, there you go.
Humility. Dr. Bob, this has been a phenomenal interview. I thought you were going to be a stuffed shirt, and you just nailed it.
Well, thank you so much for that. Well,
Audience,
I do love what I do, and I love what you're doing too. So
thank you. It's so clear, audience, that you have to pick up all of his books, read them, and then compare them to the new
well,
one that's coming
that's
out.
another good feeling. I had the conference I was just in Nashville. I never used to bring books because it's a pain. You got like, and so now I turned the switch, I don't know, 10 years ago. Now I always bring books. So ideally I have a book that I've gotten for the whole group that the person who's hiring me is gotten. And if they don't do that, then I'll send you this. I've got a whole pecking order of strategies it's okay if you can't buy the book, that's fine. Is it okay if we find someone else that will buy books for all your people? Well, who would do that? Well, give me a chance.
I
and,
would
and I
love,
just go down the list, and 9 times out of 10, I end up, not just with everyone getting one book, maybe a second book, maybe a third book. And then I bring all my other books, which completely cover a table. And the one I just did, I had a record number of people came to the table and said, how much for all of them? I want to buy them all. And I go, well, I got a special price for that. You want to take them now, or you want me to send them to you? Both. And that gives you a good feeling that someone's buying your entire work. We're going to create a lending library, the Dr. Bob Lending Library. This is great.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. So
Hey, Dr. Bob, I've got to run off because I
okay,
have
sweet.
Becky, but I want to talk to you, and audience, you can't hear what we're going to be talking about. But I will see you next week. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you, CB.